And we're going to be checking in at the bottom of each hour with our live video and audio feeds from the main mothership of the eugenicist forces here in Austin, Texas, Planned Parenthood. And Jakari Jackson is basically leading a protest out there that just kicked off about a minute ago. And again, that is on Ben White Boulevard in South Austin. Planned Parenthood 201 East Ben White 78704 today. And we're just out on the sidewalk by the access road. A lot of traffic, a lot of people to educate. We've got a whole bunch of big black and white signs printed up that show Margaret Sanger being saluted by the Ku Klux Klan. And we just point out that all of this race baiting and demonization of, say, white people in general by the media is just divide and conquer. Everybody knows that who's got half a brain. But still, political correctness says, hey, don't have a brown paper bag in Seattle or it's racist. I'm not kidding if you're a new listener. Or, you know, don't, be against sex education of 5-year-olds or you're a homophobe. All of this distractionary stuff is just meant to bully people into submitting to the social engineering. Meanwhile, you have the modern Democratic Party's roots, and the Republicans to a certain extent, but the facts are in. The facts are facts. The Democratic Party has destroyed the black community for all intents and purposes from what it was. And they're doing the same thing to every other group. If you look at people as groups. And so our reporters are out there, both as political activists, to try to save lives, try to educate folks about what's happening, and to hijack George Soros's White House Justice Department meme that the only social injustice in America is militarized police shooting unarmed black men in the back. And it is an important issue, but one that the feds are driving towards confrontation, not towards fixing it. And so that's why we're going to be covering all of this and more today. I specifically also want to open the phones up. On Monday, I shot a video after I did the radio show when I was just having a lot of anxiety, which I never really have, about the state of the world and about big developments going on, both seen and unseen. And basically, most people I talk to have said that they are feeling disquieted, they're having anxiety, they're worried about the state of the world. Dr. Group walked in a couple days ago, hadn't even heard the show, hadn't seen that video, and was telling the crew the same thing. And they said, don't you know about Alex's video? So are you seeing more signs that the globalists are on the move? And is that causing you to have a sixth sense to watch your six? Or is it just that we're becoming more aware of the marinade of tyranny, the ocean of dehumanization that's going on, and so it's humanity awakening that we're all picking up on? Or is everything fine and I'm just being paranoid, we should all go back to sleep? I'd like to hear from you. First-time callers in the first round of calls, 800-259-9231 on that subject. Are you picking up something big is about to happen, and why is there so people talking about it? We'll be having live updates from a demonstration at the Central Texas headquarters of the eugenicist organization that advised Adolf Hitler, Planned Parenthood. We're going to be talking about how all black lives matter and how the war against the police that the feds and the globalists are trying to start is actually a plan to divert and distract from the dehumanization extermination program being carried out against blacks in this country. We'll get updates at the bottom of the hour, each hour. And we have the big graphics up on Infowars.com. of Margaret Sanger at the Ku Klux Klan rallies being worshipped. And I mean literally worshipped. They would put her up on the stage, surround her, and then do the Hitler salutes just on their figurative knees. Quote, "We don't want the word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population." Margaret Sanger, 1939, in a letter to the Procter & Gamble Foundation. So there you go. And we've got, I think we printed up like 50 big signs, and we're going to be handing them out to folks. So get over there. If you're listening in Central Texas right now, you really want to expose what's happening. And it's bigger than just abortion. You can even say you're for abortion. What about the targeting and the pushing on a group? And then I see comments on Infowars.com and on YouTube videos about it. A meme saying, then you pay for the black people's school. You pay for their welfare. You pay for their medical. You pay, you pay, you pay. I love how they collectivize things on the so-called left. They're really just eugenicists. They take a community that had almost no illegitimacy, very low crime rates, and wreck it to the model of the world when it comes to the highest crime rates, highest illegitimacy, dying young, prison population. I mean, they have wrecked the black community in this country. Wrecked them. And by the way, the same socialist policies in Europe has taken white areas and just turned them into the exact same thing. Selling thug culture, you name it. It is psychological warfare. And what was perfected on the blacks is now being deployed against everybody. It is a fact that Margaret Sanger gave awards to Hitler, got awards from Hitler. It is a fact that our entire modern world and modern liberalism is totalitarianism in the name of social justice to cover right under the surface the vicious anti-human activities that are going on by this death wing. You've got the life wing of this world, you got the death wing of this world. And they are the legion of death. They are the wing of death. They are the wings of rage and anti-human bloodlust that these wicked devils soar into the sky on. It is over the top. And we now see, looks like there's already about 20 people out there or so from the earlier shots I saw. We'll put another shot up on screen. We'll talk to Jakari Jackson and others that are out there when we come back. And there's already some other good pro-lifers out there exposing what's happening. But we've got signs for you. And we're just trying to get other people around the country to start this hijacking of Black Lives Matter that is openly run by George Soros and the White House and the Justice Department, so that we don't really reform the police. We have the feds reform them by federalizing them completely and making them 10 times worse. And that's the words of an analyst in USA Today. That said, let's get into the news. There is so much to get into here. On the economic front, more economists are warning of total collapse. We're going to be getting into that. Talking about the $45 trillion in future obligations we have, the $19 trillion that is now our national debt, and then the separate $2+ quadrillion that have been created by the central banks so they could buy up the world that they have now bound us to that is not our debt. And that when the bubble bursts, and it will, and when they have the cascade of bubbles popping, it can be triggered by a war, it can be triggered by another popping of a .com bubble, which is due to happen with Silicon Valley. It could happen for race riots this summer that the White House is desperately trying to foment, and most analysts are saying will probably happen to some degree this summer. I mean, look what's already happening. It's not even hot yet. We don't know what's going to trigger it, and I pray it doesn't happen, but it's like praying Grandpa in the hospital doesn't die when he's 90 years old, just had surgery. I mean, you know he's going to die. The only question is this month or 2 years from now. But when this sucker goes down, no amount of armored vehicles, no amount of paramilitary police is going to stabilize things because we just don't have the industry. We don't have the food production capacity anymore. We don't have the moral fiber anymore. And out of this global meltdown, they will form their planetary government with the carbon taxes that the Pope's calling for. Man, this new Pope, of all the popes I've seen, I mean, is just a Marxist. No other way to look at it. And everybody knows I'm not a Catholic basher. I mean, you tune into mainline Pentecostal preachers, they're towing the government line and spewing a bunch of ecumenical garbage as well. But I tell you, man, over the top to see the things that are happening. The Pope calling for global carbon taxes as if that's wealth redistribution. That's a tax on human development and human activity, ignoring all the real environmental issues. Look at this headline. Feds spent $100 billion on food assistance last year. $100 billion. That's electronic soup kitchen lines with 109 million people. I've always gone the number of 100 million. I didn't know it was 109. People always send me emails going, it's not 100 million. It's 49 million on food stamps. That's one federal program. It's out of the Washington Free Beacon. The Congressional Budget Office and others have put the numbers out. It's $100 billion for 109 million Americans, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you enslave a people. And they're just accelerating, getting rid of our jobs, not having any contracts here domestically. We can't even build our new railways here. We have to buy it made in China, shipped over, and then Chinese firms, that's in the news today, are the ones actually that are going to build it. But I guess that's happened before. I guess J.P. Morgan and the Astors and the Rockefellers, when they were building the railroads, they didn't want to use American labor either. They would ship in coolies, I think they called them, and work them to death. And then they blamed the general white man like he was all behind it again. No. China was a colonial holding of the West at that time, divided up by the Western powers. The French, the Brits, the Dutch, the Americans, you name it, the Germans, the Austrians. And they just shipped them over here basically as slaves. So I guess that's just the way it always is. The more things change, the more they stay the same. I want to get into Rand Paul right now as we get ready to go out to break with the opening statement. But now the good news is AP reports that it's in trouble. The reauthorization of the Patriot Act is in trouble. That's tied to the NSA. And then we'll come back with his detractors and the baloney they're putting out. Here is the intro of his 10-hour historic filibuster yesterday.
Mr. President.
The senator from Kentucky.
There comes a time in the history of nations when fear and complacency allow power to accumulate and liberty and privacy to suffer. That time is now, and I will not let the Patriot Act, the most unpatriotic of acts, go unchallenged. At the very least, we should debate. We should debate whether or not we are going to relinquish our rights or whether or not we are going to have a full and able debate over whether or not we can live within the Constitution or whether or not we have to go around the Constitution. The bulk collection of all Americans' phone records all of the time is a direct violation of the Fourth Amendment. The Second Appeals Court has ruled it illegal. The President began this program by executive order. He should immediately end it through executive order. For over a year now, he has said the program is illegal, and yet he does nothing. He says, well, Congress can get rid of the Patriot Act. Congress can get rid of the bulk collection. And yet he has the power to do it at his fingertips. He began this illegal program. The court has informed him that the program is illegal. He has every power to stop it, and yet the president does nothing.